Ruth, if you could please call roll so we can establish a quorum.
At this time, I'm only asking those VZAC members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. I want to remind you to unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. Alternates, please also state your name if you are attending on behalf of a VZAC representative. Bruce Rosenwig,
Here.
Craig Pinder,
Alternate Mosey Abdulrahmanov.
Ted Goodenough, Joan Oliva is excused, Joanne Scaria,
Here.
Fadi
Here.
Nazar, Ryan Mugridge,
Here.
Stacy Beery, David Willock, Casey Percrun,
Here.
Bruce Guyton, Michael Owen, Christian Santa Gonzalez,
Here.
Joel Rosales is excused, Jermaine Swaby, Tim Crespo,
Here.
Quentin Williams,
Here.
Tracy Phelps,
Here.
Stephanie Thoborn,
Here.
Claudette De Los Santos, Catherine Wall.
And I see that
Here.
David and Jermaine just walked in. Thank you. Traffic's bad. I'm sure we'll have more stragglers coming in. All right. So are there any modifications to the agenda before we get started?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And we have the minutes, the July 11th minutes. Are there any changes from the board to the minutes? And if not, can we have a motion?
So move.
Okay, Bruce, second.
I'll second.
David Willock, second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. All of those pass unanimously. So the next item is general public comments and public comments on agenda items. So instructions on how to provide public comments are included in the agenda. Ruth, have you received anything?
No, Madam Chair.
No. Okay. So then we will move forward with comments from the board. And let's start over here with Mr. Guyton. Anybody over here want to have any comments? No? Christian, David, Bruce, okay.
I just wanted to thank you for welcoming me back onto the board.
Yes, we're glad to have you back. We were missing our bicycle club. For sure. Anybody else on this side? Mosi, Clinton, Jermaine, no? Anybody over here? Okay, I'm happy to announce that Jupiter submitted for the Safe Streets for All grant. Woohoo! Thank you. Thank you for your help, TPA. It wasn't so bad. I just want to say it was actually pretty easy. So we're not asking for 4 million like Boca, but we're asking for a little just to do our Vision Zero action plan and to buy some a software program that our traffic engineer thinks is important. And I see Mr. Goodenough just arrived. Welcome, Mr. Goodenough. But with that, we'll go to the VZAC liaison report, and Valentina will provide us with her update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Before I go through my liaison report, I just wanted to give a quick update, staff update, TPA staff update and announcement. So I am very heartbroken to say that tomorrow is actually my last day at the TPA, and today is my last day with you all today. I will be moving out of state So this is my last meeting with you all today, but I just wanted to say that it was a pleasure working with you all. Sorry, I'm getting emotional, but it was a pleasure working with you all and truly a privilege getting to witness working with such passionate and dedicated people. So I'm sad to go, but it's okay because we have other passionate people here at the TPA, so you'll be in good hands.
Thank you so much for all you do. We're going to miss you.
Yes.
Who's taking over?
Absolutely.
Probably Brian. for now. So, just real quick, what's your new position you're going to for Washington DC?
Yeah, so I'm moving to DC and I'll be working for the District Department of Transportation, and I'll be working on similar stuff that I'm working here, so trails and bike lane projects. So I'm excited.
Nice.
Excellent. Well, good luck and congratulations.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Okay.
So now on to my liaison report. So first item on my liaison report, we have the TPA's fiscal year 2024 annual report. If you have not seen that already, that just highlights all of the things that we've accomplished throughout that fiscal year. So if you're interested, you can visit our website at palmbeachtpa.org/annual report. Next, really exciting news. The Village of Wellington has finally adopted their Vision Zero action plan, making them the first municipality in Palm Beach County to have their first Vision Zero action plan. So it's a really big deal and we're all very excited to see that go through. Hopefully it's an inspiration for, the other municipalities to get that done. So we're happy to see that. Next is the Safe Routes to School grant cycle. If you are not aware, the grant cycle for that has opened up and that you can attend their workshop that's required September 11th at 10 a.m. if you're interested in applying for that program. Next is Walk and Roll to School Day. This happens every year, and you can host an event for Walk and Roll to School Day, which is October 9th. And you can visit the walkbiketoschool.org website to see all of the schools that have registered to do an event for that day. Next is Mobility Week for this year. So as you all know, FDOT does or hosts Mobility Week in collaboration with municipalities and other agencies to promote alternative modes of transportation. So if you're interested in participating for Mobility Week, that is October 25th through November 2nd for this year. And you can visit the FDOT website for more information on that. Next is the 2025 Safe Streets Summit. So every year the TPA collaborates with our partners, Broward MPO, Miami-Dade TPO to host the Safe Streets Summit to encourage everyone to look at other options for traveling and also for multimodal safety. So this time around for this year, we're taking the lead on hosting it here in West Palm Beach. So if you're interested in attending that conference, it's going to be February 6th and 7th. Next is our Vision 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan. As you all know, that's ongoing, hopefully getting that adopted by the end of this year. So if you're interested in seeing all of the projects that have been submitted, you can go to our website at palmbeachtpa.org/LRTP. Next is the the 2055 Florida Transportation Plan. So as you all know, us NPOs, we all are federally required to publish a long range transportation plan. So is the state. So that's their long range transportation plan. So you can attend their website, attend their virtual workshop that they're going to be hosting September 16th through 27th. And for more information, you can go to the floridaftp.com website. And that concludes my liaison report.
Great, thank you. I had a question. Was anybody doing anything for Parking Day? Parking Day? Okay. I'd like to see us do something, but it's, we're so suburban, maybe in Abacoa. Maybe we can convince them in Abacoa to do something, Melissa. Okay, so then the next item after any questions, comments for Valentina on her
No.
report? Okay. Action items is, the next action item, the only one we have today is the amendment 1 to the TPA's fiscal year 2025 through 2029 Transportation Improvement Program. And Andrew Euler, Deputy Director of Programs, will present this item. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. So the action item for you today is the first amendment to our 5-year transportation improvement program that covers fiscal years 25 through 29. This action item for you today is actually one that occurs annually with the first amendment to the TIP. And that is called the roll forward from FDOT, and that happens statewide, and I'll explain what that is in a second. This also includes a few other additional projects that I'll explain when it comes to general appropriations from the state legislature, as well as regional district-wide projects. So with this amendment, we're adding a couple hundred projects to the TIP. And so that is what you're voting on today, is just those products impacted in this amendment. No other products within the TIP, which is a very large amount of projects, are impacted, and you're not voting on that today. So with these projects in this amendment, I'm only going to provide a brief summary of what is seen in here. The backup had the summary as well, and then the link on the website has the full list of projects in their product pages. There's hundreds of them, so we didn't put it in your backup, but it's there for you all to look at. So the main one is the roll forward, and that has 188 products in it, and that's taking fiscal year 24 funds from this prior fiscal year for phases that are not yet complete, and they're rolling to 25. Then we have 5 general appropriations projects. So these are products that the state legislature added to the budget process after you all saw the original TIP for adoption in June. So these have been added since then. And then there's district-wide products. So we're required to show district-wide products for the state, which is FDOT District 4. It goes from Indian River all the way down to Broward County. We're required to show those in the TIP. So what we're doing is creating a new section within the TIP document called district-wide, and there's 501 products that are being included into that list. With those, they're mostly maybe district-wide operations and maintenance contracts. They could also be contingency line items for future funding. So there's a lot going on in those district-wide projects, but that's generally what is included in that list. And to get more into detail when it comes to the roll forward process. So again, these are unspent funds from the prior fiscal year of 2024 for phases. And now they're moving into in bulk into fiscal year 2025. This encompasses around $96 million of funds moving into fiscal year 25. And the reasoning why there are these products rolling into the new fiscal year could be a variety of reasons. Some of the main ones are product delays. So if a project just might take longer for getting bids back, some other changes to the product that are required, they may not have gotten to the phases. So those might be rolling out to the new fiscal year. Could also be unfinished phases. And it could also be phases that just, there's still a little bit of amount of money that's not closed out on the project. So a product might be 99% complete. The product manager might still have a couple $1,000s on the project, but because this is a bulk process, those projects will roll with this amendment. So you'll see very small amounts within a couple $1,000s for these projects in the list. The backup had this list as a summary table, and you can see in there from sorting from largest to smallest in the backup, it shows all of those in order. And so again, it's around $96 million. And then also what we do in this roll forward process is we work with Palmtran to ensure that they have their funding rolled as well. This doesn't come in the work program with AppDOT. It actually comes with our one-on-ones with Palmtran. So we communicate with them and we're rolling funds for their projects into fiscal year 25 as well. With this amendment, we also have a new interactive website. The link is on our main tip page. And in that new dashboard, and it should be accessible, you can see the projects within the tip, and you can also sort it by various information when it comes to who's doing the project, the construction year, the status of the project, the total cost. And so our products will live interactively in this dashboard. There's also an online map that you can go and look at projects, but we'll also still include the PDF document into the future. And that's all I have for you. I can answer any questions related to the amendment.
Thanks, Andrew. Is there any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Does any of the committee members? Thanks for the coming in, Michael and JC. I know it's Mr. Goodenough. It's been a lot of traffic this morning. Anybody have any comments on the amendment? Any motion?
Move for approval.
Okay, Mr. Guyton. Second? Do you have a
I'll
second?
second.
David? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Euler. Okay, next item are informational items. And we have Brian Rusher, Deputy Director of Multimodal, will present the item on transportation demand programs. And also Jonathan Hopkins of West Palm Beach Go and Jeremy Mullings of South Florida Commuter Services will make a presentation to us today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Brian Rusher, Deputy Director of Multimodal. Thank you for braving the traffic with us this morning. Here to present about our updated work on transportation demand management and a model policy. I'm really proud to have some partners here as well to present on their work and a related topic. So first and foremost, what is transportation demand management? Transportation demand management is really providing new and alternative forms of transportation to those who typically would drive alone. The Tennessee Department of Transportation has created a nice little graphic which showcases almost like a wheel with different sectors of the wheel being a bus, carpooling, scooter, rollerblades, alternative work schedules and work times, remote work, all being really, really great at tools in a toolbox of reducing congestion. It's also really important that we as an MPO continue to refer back to our Federal Register and what we're supposed to be looking at in terms of congestion management. So on the screen, we have the 5 steps that we're supposed to undertake before we even get to a capacity project. So for congestion management purposes, first and foremost, we look at growth and how we want to grow and where we want to grow and congestion pricing before we even get to capacity. The next step in that process of trying to address congestion is traffic operational improvements. So things like signal timing, smart traffic signals, and others. We also have public transportation improvements through Palmtran, Tri-Rail, and other transit providers as a congestion management process. Regional informational traffic systems as well. So we're talking about a region, we're in South Florida. We know that 95 can get congested. We know that the turnpike can get congested. There's been some major crashes on those roads recently, and regional ITS infrastructure would have it saying, well, there's a crash in Palm Beach. You probably want to get off at Indian Town Road and get onto 95 off of the turnpike so that you're not getting to get stuck in a 9-mile backup. That is kind of the regional ITS infrastructure that we could have as part of a congestion management process. And then where necessary, system capacity. So what do we mean by system capacity? On the screen is a comic that defines why we need transportation demand management and system capacity should go last. So on the top, it's a 2-lane road with people stuck in traffic that says, can't wait for the road to be widened. And on the bottom is a 3-lane road with just as much traffic, if not more, on the same piece. So it's kind of a complex situation where, you know, you can't really loosen your belt to fix an obesity problem. We have to think about how we can do things differently with the space that we're allocated and do things better. So what we're doing in terms of looking at transportation demand management and who we can provide to for some of those steps and what that could look like is we need to be talking to our visitors and our visitor organizations, our employers and our employees, our event providers, developers, about how we can do the things that are going to encourage and incentivize people to use those alternative forms of transportation. First and foremost, and at the kind of bare minimum necessary piece of transportation demand management is ensuring your infrastructure is supportive of transportation modes that are not driving alone. If we don't have a system of complete streets that are low stress, people will not see walking, biking, and transit use as a viable option in their transportation toolbox. But then beyond that, we could start thinking about things like parking management systems, where we have either shared parking or parking that's not provided in leases directly, and those have to be paid, or businesses could even pay their employees not to drive through programs like a parking cash out program. We also have multimodal subsidies. So for those of you who don't know, you can get taxable benefits from your employer to take transit to work. The TPA provides benefits to its employees through Tri-Rail and Palm Tran Pass reimbursement. So we actually pay our employees to take transit to work. Many of our employees do use that. I use our bicycle benefit from time to time. We also have payment for miles for multimodal use to get to work. So that's some of the subsidies that you can see. And then education, awareness, promotion, and services. So for those of you who are aware with your freebies, your circuits, your otherwise, those are the types of things where we can provide really small network-based solutions. Like in the downtown, all of the hotels have a circulator that's contracted with those hotels. So instead of visitors coming in, driving, speaking with my hands. Instead of the hotels having people go to their destination, rent a car, park it, and then drive that car from downtown destination to downtown destination, all of the hotels just provide a shuttle internally within the downtown so visitors can get to and from their destinations locally without getting in their car. And then lastly, services, providing free education and training to employees so that they understand what different options that they have to take alternative forms of transportation other than driving alone. I would ask each of you, if you have any of these types of policies, to please share them with me. We are working very hand in glove with the City of West Palm Beach, West Palm Beach Go, and South Florida Commuter Services on a transportation demand management policy menu and implementation guide. This is going to have recommendations for developers, for existing businesses, for event providers, and others that you can use in your development standards or code or otherwise. Take these in, enforce them locally, or provide carrots and sticks, however you would like to go about your mechanism for getting people out of their cars. This is going to be countywide guidance, even though we're working closely with the downtown and with the City of West Palm Beach on this policy. And we're going to have different use cases. A suburban transportation demand management program is going to look very different than an urban transportation demand management program. So we need to capture as much information as we can. We know the City of Boca Raton has some good programs as well and some current TDM use cases too. So if you have any others that we should know about, please do share them. So I'm going to wrap up my part of the presentation. I'm going to ask to be joined by our co-presenters, and thank you for your time. I'll take questions at the end.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jonathan Hopkins, the Executive Director of WPB Go, the West Palm Beach Mobility Coalition. There's a chance that a couple of things we share here might feel mundane to folks, but if there's anything to remember from today, I think it's actually two very, very exciting things. One, as our system gets more busy and challenged, what's happening right now is people are working together. to help solve these problems, right? When you have a bunch of low-hanging fruit on ways to improve both safety and capacity, you can have each agency and different employers all working separately, and it's going to kind of work. But as our region gets more popular, making gains gets harder. And so what we actually have now is a lot of different parties, public and private sector, working together to make those gains together. So that's one takeaway. And the second takeaway we'll show at the end about how this has a direct impact on roadway safety, which seems to be our appropriate topic for today. We do this game called Hide the Slides, and I feel victorious that I've hidden them really well. Ta-da. Okay, here we go. We're off to the races. Okay, so what I mentioned about people working together, this is a slide of partners in the Mobility Coalition. These are a variety of organizations. It's not just government, it's not just private sector, it's not just big business, it's not just small businesses. For West Palm Beach, in some way, shape, or form, this is kind of everybody, right? And it's not to say that every business is represented on here, but in a way they are, right? The Downtown Development Authority is a partner in this. They represent and are funded by all the small businesses, large and small, in downtown West Palm Beach. Every major government entity that has an impact on transportation is a partner at a roundtable we hold monthly, and either in kind or direct funding as a funder of WPB Go. WPB Go is a transportation management association, which does TDM. So that's very, very exciting. Everybody should be excited about that language. And I'm kind of joking, but TMAs are a best practice nationwide for places undergoing growth. Growth in general is good news, right? It means people can have jobs here. There's all sorts of opportunity happening, but has a bunch of other effects. Congestion goes up, cost of living goes up. So affordability starts to be out the window for many people. And there's just a bunch of other side effects that we can't solve unless we work together. So a TMA is a Transportation Management Association. These are both sets of language from state code. It's basically a public-private partnership focused on solving transportation issues and making the system more efficient. WPB Go is a TMA. There's about 2 TMAs in the state that are functional currently. And hopefully there'll be more. And then what do TMAs do? They do transportation demand management, which is really aligning incentives so that the system works. Some people mentioned yesterday, like maybe that's working with employers. So if there's 3 major employers all in the same building, or there's in a factory district somewhere or whatever, having the shift arrival times different, or just like staggered work schedules, is an example of businesses and everybody working together. But that's not going to solve it all, that one thing. It's actually using all of the tools. Sometimes it's employers realizing that bus passes are cheaper than paying for parking. And then they realize if they give bus passes out to all their employees, the number of employees taking the bus goes up by 10%. If we were to look out on Okeechobee and look at, about 120 cars, 120 people in cars, it would take about 4 blocks of Okeechobee. If we looked at 120 people on the bus, it'd be 2 buses, right? It's a geometry thing, right? And so this is a business-friendly program to ensure that we can keep attracting jobs, that we can keep having the high-quality workforce to fill them, and that we work together on downside effects like affordability challenges and congestion challenges. What we are doing as part of this is our first program. So many states and cities have sometimes TDM regulations that somehow encourage employers like, hey, work together with the TMA on this. We don't have those, but what we do is have a lot of eager employers, many of them on our roundtable. And so what we are doing is a pilot starting in October with about 25 companies. through 25 companies, we'll reach about 25 to 3,500 employees, which is 10% of the workforce in downtown West Palm Beach. Through those companies, leveraging their leadership and their culture and their structure, their leadership will work with us to provide benefits to their employees, to provide encouragement to try something different, and then we're going to measure what sort of difference that makes. So we can come up with kind of like rules of thumb for here in West Palm Beach, where the weather is X and the I-95 is this busy, that if you do a certain activity with your employees, it will reduce congestion by a certain amount. So we're going to recruit those 25 employers. We have most of them. We're going to reach 10% of the workforce, and then we're going to measure results. And we take like our attention to the results is like an accountant's attention to a P&L at a company. We use data and we focus on what works and don't spend a lot of time on what doesn't. And so when it comes down to, so what are we hoping to achieve through this is normalizing employee engagement on mobility, employer engagement, because it is actually the number one complaint of their workers. And one of the top couple complaints transportation and affordability, number one complaint of workforce, and one of the number one complaints of employers that, hey, it's hard getting people to work on time. Like a bunch of people trying to get here today got held up by a convention that has Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm very excited about this, and somebody else who I forgot who it was, so I'm not excited about it. At the convention center, but it all affected us, right? Because we didn't have a method to deal with it. So normalizing engagement on this, education, distribution benefits, measuring performance, and encouraging ongoing investment in what works. When we look at, what are the things that we're going to test, it includes, $70 worth of free Palm Tran access to 100% of employees in participating companies. Some employees are going to use it once. Some employees will use it 2-3 times a week or every day. Some won't use it. But what we expect there will be is a change. And it's helping employees with affordability. Driving is expensive, costs about $1,000 a month. If tools like this enable a family to go from 3 cars to 2 cars, for the average income in Palm Beach County, that's a 17% raise, all just for $70 a month on a bus pass. For those that it works, not everybody can use the bus, right? Bright Bike, 3 months of free access to that. We're working on an amount to be determined of free Tri-Rail passes for people who've never used Tri-Rail. We'll give employees free access to van pools, which van pools can work for almost anybody if your pool of participants are large enough. Almost nobody in the county lives on just their own, square mile, right? There's a few, but almost anybody coming to work doesn't just like live totally devoid of like a route that includes other people. So by using our 25 employers and more, so like making Vanpool access like this program available to all city and county employees could be an example of expanding that cohort to try and find people you can pair up for Vanpool, making that free for 3 months and see if it sticks. Helping people realize programs that already exist. Anybody in our program have 6 free rides home, emergency rides home a year, in case, you sign up for a Vanpool, but your kid got sick at school and you have to go pick them up. And making sure people know about like the $5 free, cost reductions for Uber, Lyft, and taxi to and from Tri-Rail stations. And then also helping people know about a e-bike voucher lottery that the Downtown Development Authority is doing, about $50,000 to $60,000, that will be a lottery that gives people $400 or $800 discounts, $800 for low-income individuals, off of e-bikes. Data from around the country shows that 90% of people that win an e-bike replace their car use for a majority of trips for a year. That, like somebody on a bike takes up 6 or 8 square feet. Us driving in our car when we're going down Okeechobee, we take up like 400. Again, it's geometry. So we're just trying to make all the pieces fit so we can fill all the jobs and different things like that. And so that's over $600 in benefits in a month that people have access to in this pilot. And we're just going to see how it works, right? So we're measuring the level of employer engagement, how many employees participate in this. We'll have before and after surveys, and we'll just like look at how do employers react to this long term? Do they see things that affect their bottom line in a positive way? That's because that's the real win. Like educate, inform, and provide a bunch of different tools and see what tools are actually just universally helpful. And with that, kind of our schedule for this, we're kicking off the first employers, about a half dozen, October 1st, between October 1st and the middle of November. It's a 3-month program for each of these employers. And then we'll do the balance of the rest of the companies, nearly 20, starting in January. By Q2 of the calendar year, we'll start having data and report out of like, here's how it went. We have retail companies, hotels, 9-to-5 office workers, government, non-government, private sector, nonprofit participants in this. So we'll be able to see, certain things that work in one sector might be totally not helpful in another. But again, this is our foray into absolute best practices. And there are some cities in the country, one of the most stunning examples in the Pacific Northwest, a city added 100,000 jobs in 10 years, which, I mean, there's 120,000 people in West Palm Beach. So, but they added 100,000 jobs, and using programs like this, they only added 6,000 single occupancy vehicles. So that meant they were able to add 94,000 of the 100,000 jobs that didn't really add any traffic, unless you count more people walking on the sidewalk as congestion. So this is what's exciting about this. And is the safety slide in here? Okay. And so why does this matter? I think I gave a bunch of reasons why this matters, but we're here talking about Vision Zero. The way we choose to get around has a direct impact on people's health in a bunch of different ways. Congested roads contribute to asthma and different things like that. So environmental determinants of health. But maybe just the most direct day is like roadway safety. This is a chart of advanced nations in the OECD and US states and per capita roadway fatalities. The blue lines are countries, the red lines are the United States average, and then the other 50 states plus the district. And let's look at where we are. So Norway's on the left-hand side. The US average is 2/3 of the way down this list, way higher than Norway. And then Colombia is the most unsafe country to drive in the advanced world. Absolute most unsafe country to drive in. And then here's where Florida is. So Florida has less safe roads than Colombia. Palm Beach County is on the Florida state average. So we're not doing better or worse than the state of Florida. And so, if we were able to just achieve Norway's level of roadway safety, we'd save 10 times, we'd have 90% fewer roadway fatalities. In this state, we put the population of St. Petersburg in the hospital every year due to roadway accidents. The two most unsafe types of roads are rural roads. Norway has a lot of those. And then large multi-lane roads that are not limited access. So we have a lot of those, right? Here's something that's stunning. And, our job is helping people find more affordable ways to get to work. Even though people might not think so, riding the bus or being around a bus is 60 times safer than cars. Trains, commuter trains, and metro rails are 20 or 30 times safer. And so what you end up finding is almost all the countries in blue that have more safe roads than us have higher rates of usage of walking, of taking the train, of taking buses, because there's train drivers whose whole job is to not get in a wreck. So what we are doing has a roadway safety impact when it's successful. It has a congestion reduction impact. It has an economic development and opportunity and access to opportunity and affordability impact for our residents. And then the companies that are involved, names that you guys all recognize are, companies that see this is valuable to their bottom line. So their future success is dependent on this sort of collaboration. So we're really excited to continue this sort of thing in partnership with our business community that should yield us some benefits in congestion reduction, affordability, and roadway safety. With that, I'll pass on. A key partner in all of this is South Florida Community Services. We would not be able to do this without them. They play a regional community services role, and Jeremy Mullings is the head of that. So I'll hand it off to him.
Sorry. There we go. Good morning. My name is Jeremy Mullings. I'm the director of South Florida Commuter Services. So both Brian and John, I believe, did a pretty good and effective job of explaining what transportation demand management is, why we do it. And my role here is to be the Florida DOT face of transportation demand management for South Florida. So as you heard before, the Florida statutes does require that the department participate in transportation demand management. It also requires that the DOT supports and partners with TMAs, Transportation Management Associations. I like to look at the relationship between the DOT and the TMAs as the DOT's TDM program is the wholesaler, right? We do the wholesaling of transportation demand management. Our region is from Vero Beach to Key West. The TMA is the retailer. And when you look at any retail outlet, they have a very defined geographic service area, and they know their market better than anybody else. There's no data set that we can pull that's going to put us in a position to have a better understanding of downtown West Palm than the people who work and live here. So it is extremely fortunate for us to help us carry out our mission with availing the value and benefits of multimodalism to folks who live and work in West Palm than partnering with the TMA. And absolutely, the TPA is also an intricate part of that partnership as well. So really quickly, just to tell you about us, not too much more to say than what's on the slide here. So South Florida Commuter Services, again, a program of the Department of Transportation, the Florida Department of Transportation. A lot of our resources are spent in marketing and planning. So we spend a lot of money on mass media, social media, Google advertising, search engine optimization. We like to think we're on the cutting edge of reaching out to the public, the traveling public. We try our best not to do a lot of preaching to the choir. We talk to the folks who wake up in the morning and think, I would never jump on a bus. And hopefully we could identify the segment of that population who may find benefit in riding the bus and avail that stuff to them. So we spend a lot of money reaching out directly to the traveling public, and we use the feedback from them to tweak the way we relate to them. But we also work directly with our partners, the TPA, the TMAs, transportation providers like your Palm Trans, like your SFRTA, Tri-Rail, and of course, local governments, many of whom operate local shuttles. But those are the folks who are going to be implementing your walkable environments, your bikeable environments. So we work close with them as well to help avail the benefits of those types of scenarios. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. This is who we are. We're also available to all of you. And you could reach us through the TPA. We speak to them extensively, and we work very closely with the TMA. And I'll highlight one thing that I'll repeat, that I like to remind every audience that I get before, that John mentioned, the Guaranteed Ride Home program, right? So anybody who takes public transportation, you walk, you bike, you carpool, you vanpool. So let's say you and I carpool. In the middle of the day, we're at work, and you say, listen, I have an emergency, I need to leave. Now I'm stuck for the day. What am I going to do? As long as I carpool, I pick up the phone and I call South Florida Commuter Services, and they will send me an Uber to get me home, no matter where I live. And that's free. And you get to do that 6 times a year. So more information on that, you could go to guaranteedridehome.org, and all the information is there for you. Again, that's a Florida DOT program, and I'm available for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, all three of you. Do we have any public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Questions, comments from the board? I
Madam
knew,
Chair.
I knew Fadi. I knew you, Fadi. Okay, come on.
If it's working. Great presentation. You know, when I was private sector, I worked on a number of TDM program, and I think it's definitely needed. But I have one observation. I know not everything that work in one city will work in other cities, but what really works, especially in Florida, is convenience. And what I've always thought needed, and I haven't seen it yet, is some kind of interceptor parking. I mean, you figure out what % of people who come to downtown using I-95 or using the Turnpike or using Tri-Rail. It's a big percentage. Why isn't there some interceptor parking with some high quality shuttle that work? That will make it much easier for you to work with employers once you have this system. And plus with the micromobility, with, you know, electric bike and stuff and things, you may not even need the shuttle if you have some convenient, you know. I'm thinking of just 2 interceptor parking, one, you know, for I-95 and one for the Turnpike and Okeechobee, with some really high quality, well maybe with some signal preemption system that will bring you quickly here. I don't think it's in the realm of hundreds of millions of dollars, but I think it's something that probably need to be evaluated in addition to other policy, which make it much easier to work with employers and others, to have alternative way.
I really appreciate that comment and question. So interesting, what you're talking about is a topic of discussion for us in real time. It's important for everybody to know there's only 2 to 3 different reasons why people choose a way they get to work: cost, convenience, usually measured in time, and then to a degree experience. Like if you think it's going to be unsafe, it doesn't matter if it's free, right? So cost, convenience, and then to some degree experience. So exactly what you just said, we 100% agree. And we're exploring options for exactly that. So 100% agree.
I could add to that. As a matter of fact, Brian and I are in the middle of a text message conversation right now. So South Florida, including the Treasure Coast, there's about 100 park and ride lots. Some funded and owned by FDOT, some by counties, some by local cities and municipalities. And what we have found, and at least right now, and I don't know if this will be the case going forward, that the park and ride lots with the large quantity of available parking usually can only be substantiated or sustained by premium transit. So if we're counting on van poolers and car poolers only, we don't see the numbers that would warrant that. We are studying right now in Southwest Miami-Dade for the DOT a number of satellite shared use park and rides where we're finding existing retail or commercial facilities with a surplus of parking, and we're not looking for a lot, maybe 10, 20 spaces. And those we can push carpoolers and van poolers to. Many of the ones we're identifying right now do have transit along those lines, but if we're talking about local fixed route transit, I mean, the truth is what it is. A lot of folks are gonna have a hard time jumping out of a car onto a local fixed route transit. That easier transition for those folks are gonna be from a car to premium transit. That'll be your express bus, your limited stop, or your train. If it's a walkable or bikeable environment, that too is also going to be a little more attractive than that huge leap from a car to local fixed route transit. So, so there are park and rides. An integral part of that would be the shuttle from the park ride to your final destination. Those do exist. Many of the tri-rail stations have park and rides. Don't tell them I told you this part, but many of them are funded by FDOT, so you don't necessarily have to ride tri-rail to park there. Don't tell them I said that. So that scenario does exist. The challenge you're going to run into, though, is finding perpetual funding for those shuttles, because theirs are going to fall within the realm of operating and maintenance, which is always a challenge for funding transit.
I would only say high quality shuttles. I mean, something dependable that's really not the typical kind of, just a bus or a van.
And to speak a little bit to the specifics of your point about an east-west shuttle, the city of West Palm in a few development orders has actually gotten park and rides as part of the development orders. We should probably actually get you those so we can get them mapped. And then we already have transit signal priority for transit vehicles and emergency vehicles. That should hopefully go into the ground this year. And the city of West Palm, through the mobility manager, is looking at an east-west premium route as part of a later phase after US 1 gets launched with their premium fixed route. So that's more of a shuttle-based service. And then the western terminus is about, I want to say military for West Palm Beach, and then it could go into the town of Palm Beach depending on funding. So Jessica would be a really good contact to reach out to at the city of West Palm Beach, Jessica Keller. She's the mobility manager. So some of those things are already kind of in the works and moving, and we might see them sooner than we would think feasible. So thank you.
Mr. Guyton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a comment and a question. My comment first is I serve on a regional subcommittee for South Florida, and I attended a meeting in Fort Lauderdale at which Brian was there as well. And this issue was discussed, congestion, and they were doing a presentation. And they looked to Brian for direction. And I found that to be one gratifying because Brian is from Palm Beach County, representing Palm Beach County. But I found it surprising too that they didn't have, and this is not a complaint, but they didn't have a real process how to navigate and do the plan and strategy. And typical me, asking a lot of questions, and they would look at Brian for the answers. So I just want this committee to know that Brian represented Palm Beach County well, and he's doing a good job out in the field. Now, Mike, and we oftentimes complain about staff, but we don't oftentimes, oh, maybe we do give the compliments when appropriate. Now, the question is, in some areas, in some states, they try to force people out of their cars by charging on frequently traveled roads. Let me make this comment too. I'm not suggesting this, but I just want to know if there's been any discussion about tolls being charged on frequently traveled roads to try to force people out of their cars and use public or other private transportation.
Sure. I think I'm going to answer your question in two ways. The first bit of it is a story of why congestion happens, and it gets to something that Jonathan said. Congestion first and foremost happens because you're successful. So downtown West Palm Beach, we had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. We had Nick Saban from Alabama football, who's the other person that Jonathan did. He's not a sports fan. You got to give him a break. So we're successful in downtown West Palm, which is really great. The second reason that congestion happens is a lack of options. I think a lot of people in South Florida feel that, and we're starting to feel more of that in Palm Beach County. And so I think with those two things combined, it is not so much that people are forced out of their cars per se, but they just don't have another way to get around without paying an exuberantly high fee. Congestion pricing is already here. We have it on 95 up to about Linton Boulevard. The congestion pricing is going to be expanded up through Palm Beach County. So there is already a plan for 95 to move that strategy up through the county. The Turnpike limited access facility, it's tolled, and I know that there's a little bit of flux in the pricing. There's a program right now through the governor where if you use the toll road frequently enough, you get a discount. So it's not exactly the same methods and strategies, but we already have that here locally. I could see a world where eventually we do need to get to a place where congestion pricing does become more real and looked at. I know our partners to the south are looking at it, and there is state rules that come into when we do have congestion pricing. But if we do hit a point where we continue the land use pattern where that we've had for such a long time, and we continue placing people in circumstances where they're not provided options, that will be a tool in the toolbox that might need to be explored. So it's a long way of saying yes, it's in the strategy, but that could be prolonged, delayed, what have you, by providing people with more options.
And if I can just add, for the express lanes on I-95, which are told, if you're carpooling and you register with South Florida Human Services, now you need 3 people to talk about that's you get to use those lanes for free. You get to, so if you're carpooling in the 95 express lanes, you get to use those lanes for free all the time. And you'd have to register with us first, floridacarpools.com.
Very quickly. So on our pilot, our focus is bringing down the already high cost of transportation. So we don't have a role in congestion pricing. Our focus, like driving your own car, is $1,000 a month. To most people in Palm Beach County, that's a meaningful amount of money. Our job is to bring that number down. And so that's what we'll be focused on in the near term. We'll see what works.
Okay. Joanne?
I just want to say excellent presentation. I'm very excited that you all are working on these things. Brian, I was wondering, is there a place we can see the draft policy guide that's in progress right now with West Palm Beach?
I could provide you with a draft. It's not ready for publishing online, but anybody who's interested, just shoot me an email and I can give you what we've got currently. We're trying to rework it a little bit, given the kind of changes that happened when we were going through our development of the document itself. So two things: Live Local, I think, impacted a lot of our strategies pretty hard. And then beyond that, the state statutes related to mobility plans and fees are also something that's requiring us to think harder about how we make a stronger case for why this is unnecessary from the business side. So some of those changes have kind of prolonged and delayed a little bit, but we're working through with our city and our WPGO partners to get the draft into a better place. So we can send you a draft if you want to get involved.
Great.
Love to have you.
I would love to see a copy. I would love to, maybe at some point when it's ready, have an opportunity for because it's a countywide guide, it'll be a great example of leadership of how we can move forward in this direction, all work together in the way that makes sense for each of our own agencies. If there's an opportunity for coordination, either with this board more formally, maybe setting up some kind of a working group, maybe as it's kind of nearing the end to kind of get on board with all the policies and make sure they all work, and we're including everything that we can.
Sure.
I think that would be great.
Absolutely.
And I think for the West Palm Beach Go presentation, that was really impressive. I'm really excited about all the things that you've accomplished in such a short time. I'm curious, on all the menu of programs that you've put together already, are you working together with Jeremy on any of those things, or?
There's nothing that we don't work together with Jeremy on.
All of them, wonderful, okay. And Jeremy, excellent presentation as always. You do excellent work, so thank you.
Okay, so our Jeremy.
All right, good morning. I just wanted to add that there's sometimes a thin line between the appeal of using the transit and not using it, and it becomes a habit. So, for example, personal experience, I got into the habit of taking the Tri-Rail, and it started to become regular. I enjoyed the exercise of walking from Tri-Rail to the City Hall, but there were occasions where the train would be delayed. And, as a working professional, you can't really use the excuse of, okay, the transportation is delayed. After a while, it becomes, not an acceptable response. So I started to get back to the comforts of driving and, probably getting a few minutes of extra sleep just to, hop in the car and drive. Not saying that the benefit of that outweighs the Tri-Rail, but I think, with these transit options, the appeal to use it with relation to the convenience, needs to be somewhat of a priority. Also, to revert to some of the reasons as to why, let's say, the Tri-Rail will be delayed is because, for example, it would have maintenance issues. And sometimes you'll see where the same train would probably have the same issue, whether it's the AC or it being broken down. And just trying to have an understanding also of what fiscal initiatives are there to not just maintain a vehicle that, may not be able to keep up with the demand of it, but also getting something new or increasing or fixing it to a level that, makes it a more dependable option, pretty much.
Actually, I love what you're saying there. I got to ride Tri-Rail up here today, and I do on a regular basis. One aspect of a program like this is it gets more eyes on the system and raises kind of the level of awareness of where our systems are, right? And so that's one point. Like usually when you have programs like this, your transit system improves, both because you increase ridership and you have people from all income levels riding the system and providing feedback. Second, we agree with the habits. That's why we're working with colleges and universities, sets those habits early because they do stick. Third, it's really important to have options, right? I-95 got shut down a couple of days ago because a tanker overturned. In Japan, they have tons of options, and if your train's 2 minutes late, you can get a note so you don't get in trouble at work, right? So there's like a higher level of expectation in systems that have lots of options. And then finally, so Tri-Rail is part of our roundtable. And so we meet with them every month, talk with them even more often. Their leadership is hyper-focused on improving the quality of a system that was originally built as just a temporary mitigation for I-95 improvements. And it was treated like it was a temporary mitigation for probably far too long. They're replacing air conditioning units as fast as they can, replacing engines. So when there's maintenance issues and the train just breaks down, that's because they have 1989 and older engines and they haven't replaced them. So getting a new engine takes like 7 years. And so there's a lot of work on rolling stock to improve that. But, you know, Tri-Rail is actually a powerhouse of a mover of people. In South Florida, it moves 3 times as many people as Brightline does because it has all-day service and just a lot of stops. So it is a really key and critical asset that is going to continue to improve over the next 10 years. But the immediate improvements that you see are not necessarily an adequate reflection of the level of efforts we're putting in to fix it, because everything with that, those rolling stock capital investments, aside from air conditioners, which is still hard, it's a years-long capital investment.
And I will add as well. And first of all, of the 3 entities here, I will tell you, if you any question you ask, we're all not going to have the same exact answer. So this is just me right now, right? And I'll tell you one thing that we do not participate in. We don't believe in guilting people out of their cars. We don't believe in vilifying people who want to drive a car. You want to drive a car, drive a car. Great. To get people out of their cars, the alternatives have to have similar benefit, and the person has to find similar value. There's going to be a cutoff where this person's going to say, this doesn't make sense to me. So I could tell you 100 times that driving up here, Google rerouted me 4 times. So Google had no idea what time I was going to get here. I walked in late and I drove. I had the comfort of driving my own car. So there are pros and cons to every mode, but again, the individual has to find value in it for them. I haven't met the new Palm Tran director yet, but I know a number of the people work closely with the staff members there, work very closely with Tri-Rail. And I agree with John. They're both very much committed to doing more than talking about time and distance. The new era of transit that we're seeing, which I really am in favor of, talks about customer experience. And you know, the benefit I had this morning, even though Google rerouted me 4 times, I texted Brian and I knew exactly what, well, not exactly. I kind of knew what time I was going to get here. So even when I hit a new piece of congestion that I didn't see earlier on I-95 coming from Fort Lauderdale, you know, without GPS, I would have freaked out and wonder how long is this congestion going to last. But at least with Google, I had an estimation of what time I was going to get there. And we're seeing these types of things with public transportation. So even though, yes, there are going to be more delays than we probably like now, I'm very confident that they're working on that. We're seeing real-time train tracking, more predictable arrivals and departure times, and it is getting better. Again, it's going to be up to the individual to find the value, and then up to people like us to expose those values to the folks who can benefit from it.
Was there any other? I just wanted to say a couple things. One is that this is a very complicated, complex issue. I mean, the issue is varied. I mean, look at the different municipalities and the organizations that are here in Jupiter, where I'm from and represent. Our land use patterns are significantly different than those here in West Palm, and having, you know, commuters come in, which is a major problem. Our housing is a major problem because now, you know, in Jupiter, it's very expensive. So I think the ideas that you bring to this group can help us understand how to individualize that commuter and that experience for each of us. Like, for example, in the gardens, I mean, you guys are the transit. We're looking to you to take that commuter, bring Brightline up to the gardens. We're excited for that because we don't want it in our town. We're happy to go to the gardens. We're happy to go to the mall. We're happy to just drive right over there and do it. But in Jupiter, I see things like we have the Riverwalk, we have Sun Trail, which we're in line for along US 1, but that doesn't address our east-west corridors. in the long run, I think places that are more suburban land use patterns that don't have the density of West Palm and even Boca. Boca's getting really dense. Those trails and things that we have that we've like fought for. Greenways, we have greenways in Abacoa that we've connected. Those are our future for bringing the experience on an e-bike or walking and commuter rides. And those are a little bit different. And then one day when we get Tri-Rail, and we already have Palm-Tran, we have Route 10, we're going to expand that. Then we can connect our dots. But I think it's really important for you guys to keep coming back and giving us ideas, because not one, tool is going to fit everybody, but I think it's important for us. So after you're done with West Palm, come to the gardens, and then the gardens can then show us how to do a few things as well, because people want to come around, and maybe then we can help reduce some of the other issues like housing is a major problem, and getting people into, and we have industrial land. We have industrial land that's still vacant that is going to bringing in a huge amount of workplace. It's not developed yet. There's right at the Turnpike and I-95. So we're holding on to our land for a big pop. So we're going to have something coming in, and we're going to need that transportation scenario as well. But I just encourage everybody to think about things, what can you take from this? Not one size fits all, but what works for your community and what helps. And I thank you for giving us ideas and let us, plan. All right. Okay. Yeah, thanks. So we'll move on to the next item, which is speed management study update. And Valentina, this is going to be your last official presentation with us today as pedestrian and bicycle planner, and Spencer Maddox, engineer with Kittleson and Associates, will present this item, and it's the TPA speed management study.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very excited to present to you all this today, because we have been talking about this for a while now. So for today, we'll be going over, I'm joined here with our consultant team, Alex and Spencer Maddox, to go over the speed management study that we've been working on since April of this year. So let's dive in. So why conduct a speed management study in the first place? So as you all know, the TPA adopted a Vision Zero action plan back in 2019 and updated that plan in 2021 with the goal of completely eliminating all traffic-related fatalities and serious injuries. So within that plan, we have a series of cultural, policy, and funding-related actions that will help us reach our Vision Zero goal. And one of those actions in there is Policy Action 1.3, which calls for us to identify the appropriate target speeds for all of our high crash corridors. So conducting the speed management study will help us advance that Policy Action 1.3. Another reason is it'll help improve human behavior and mitigate or manage speeding. So on the left side of the screen, I'm showing two graphics. The first graphic is showing the field division at 15 miles per hour versus the one on the right. It's the field division at 30 to 40 miles per hour. So the one on the left, it's showing for the one at 15 miles per hour. As you can see, the driver is able to see the entirety of the road, including the pedestrians on both sides of the street. Whereas at 30 to 40 miles per hour, they can't even see the pedestrians and they can't even see the entirety of the roadway. So it's important to understand that, as the field of vision increases, speed also decreases, or speed decreases and the field of vision increases. And at lower speeds, drivers can see more of their surroundings and the road. So it's important to understand that because it'll be harder for them to react to potential hazards if they are going at higher speeds. Another reason is to take accountability for our actions. So we found that speeding and aggressive driving accounted for 17% of all traffic-related deaths from 2017 to 2023 in Palm Beach County. So it's, important to take that, be accountable for actions because that's a big number and that's a lot of people that are dying on our roads. So the other graphic that I'm showing there is a graphic showing if a person is hit by a vehicle traveling at 20 miles per hour, it was found that approximately 9 out of 10 pedestrians have a possibility of surviving. Whereas if you increase that speed to 40 miles per hour, and you are hit by a vehicle traveling at that 40 miles per hour, only 1 out of 10 pedestrians will have the possibility of surviving. So it's important that we keep this in mind when we are planning and designing for our roads. So a little bit more about what the study entails and the timeline. As mentioned, we began the study back in April of this year. Throughout the summer, from May through August, we've been working on coordination with Palm Beach County and FDOT, and we've been working on drafting that target speed study or target speed methodology, along with other items related to the study. And we are hoping to wrap the study up at the end of this month. So what the study entails is really to identify the appropriate target speeds on all of our high injury network roads, which are the most dangerous roads in Palm Beach County from our analysis, and coming up with the appropriate countermeasures and strategies to help us mitigate speeding. We will also be using national best practices and guidance for speed setting. So we are using best practices and guidance from the federal government, so the Federal Highway Administration and the Florida Department of Transportation. And we are also looking at our partners for inspiration, so Metroplan Orlando and Hillsborough TPO, since they have done similar efforts for speed management. We're also applying a safe system approach. So the safe system approach does call for us to plan and design for all roadway users. But here at the TPA, we will be prioritizing our most vulnerable road users, which are pedestrians and bicyclists. So with that, I will hand it over to Spencer Maddox to go over the remaining of the presentation.
Thank you, Valentina. And good morning, everyone. Spencer Maddox, engineer with Kittleson and Associates. And today we're going to be talking about speed. And there's a lot of different definitions and speeds out there. So first and foremost, what is target speed? It's the speed which should be the highest speed that the roadway operates, and it's context-based. So it depends on the multimodal users and area and land use characteristics to set an appropriate target speed for the roadway. The design speed, that's an engineering decision. When a roadway is designed, it determines design criteria such as lane width, clear width, acceleration and deceleration length of that roadway. Posted speed, that setting the posted speed is governed by the Florida Speed Zoning Manual. Generally, it does take into account the operating speed, and traditionally the design speed for roadways has been higher than the posted speed by 5 to 10 miles per hour. That was the previous standard design practice that the industry is beginning to move away from. And then the operating speed is the actual speed that the roadway operates at, the free flow speed as you're driving along the roadway, and traditionally is associated with that 85th percentile speed. And so what some of the challenges that we see in our roadway network today is that these speeds are not equal. Target speed does not equal design speed, which does not equal posted speed, which is why operating speed is not equal to any of them. And that's one of the challenges that we're trying to solve, is getting all of these speeds to the same number. And so we developed a target speed methodology that's data-driven and takes into account a points-based approach. Like Valentina mentioned, we are applying this methodology on all federal aid roads that aren't a state road, and then considering state, county, and municipal roads on the TPA's high injury network. Again, emphasizing the most vulnerable roadway users. And to do this, we pulled in a lot of different data sources. So we pulled in roadway characteristic information such as functional classification, roadway ownership, and context classification to really set appropriate target speed ranges for each segment in the network. And then we considered additional data such as safety data, pulling in the TPA's high injury network, FDOT's vulnerable roadway users, multimodal data such as transit ridership, stop level transit ridership, pedestrian and bicycle activity, along with the TPA's level of traffic stress. And lastly, we also considered geometric data such as number of lanes, the target speed, for a 2-lane facility and 6-lane facility. Those are very different facilities, and we wanted to take that into account when developing the methodology. And so we scored the entire network, taking into account these different data sources, and it scored from as low as 1 point to as high as 13 points, and to set a target speed. And so these are our draft target speed results. On the left is just a graph that shows the distribution of target speeds based on facility type. As you can see, one of the key takeaways is the highest frequency of target speeds for this network is at 30 miles per hour. So again, emphasizing and prioritizing the most vulnerable roadway users. The outcome of this analysis was setting a 30 mile per hour target speed for a majority of roadways. On the right is just a map that shows the target speeds for all the different corridors. As you can see, a lot of green in that map, which means 30 miles per hour or less. And then we get some orange and red in the more suburban and rural areas, which are generally higher speeds. In addition to that target speed methodology, we also analyzed operating speed data for the high injury network using RIDIS. And so for an entire year, we looked at the 85th percentile speed, the median speed, and average speed for all of the high injury network, really to understand where there was existing speeding concerns occurring. And then for the entire study network, we also compared the target speed and posted speed, which is what you're seeing on that map on the right. So the segments in red are really a significant difference, either 15 miles per hour or more than 15 miles per hour difference than the target speed and existing posted speed. So based on all of the characteristics that we saw, the data analysis, these are the locations that there's the greatest difference between the target speed and posted speed. And so one of the outcomes of this study is to identify priority speed management corridors. How we did this was identify corridors where there were existing speeding concerns. So looking at locations where the operating speed was greater than the posted speed. Also taking into account some socioeconomic data using the TPA's traditionally underserved index, which includes zero-car households, percent youth, percent elderly population, among other things. And so really emphasizing the areas that score high in that index, since those may be some of the more vulnerable users, crossing the road, they're maybe more likely to walk and bike. Additionally, we also wanted to prioritize locations where we are seeing some of the larger differences between the posted speed and target speed, where there is that disconnect with the existing posted speed and our assigned target speed. And then lastly, also prioritizing, the corridors that scored the highest with the target speed points. And so the next steps for this study is to finalize the priority speed management corridors, also identify countermeasures and strategies to achieve the target speed for those corridors. And so On the right are just some images of some, potential example countermeasures from NACTO. By no means are these an exhaustive list. Just wanted to show some examples of speed management countermeasures, which we're going to be identifying for the priority speed management corridors, both short, mid to long term, with the ultimate goal of getting these installed to achieve the target speed, and then just complete the final report. So with that, I'll open the floor to questions.
Ruth, do we have any public comment?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Anybody want to, Dottie?
I think this is very interesting study, and I know the objective is great, but I think we're gonna have serious issue with it for the simple reason that all studies showed that the safest speed is 85th percentile speed. You can put any posted speed you want, and if you put something that's very, very different without taking any other measures, what you're gonna have is a big variation in traffic speed, which gonna make it less safe, gonna make it extremely difficult to be enforced. And there is a reason why, I mean, all the document up to recently put a lot of emphasis on the 85th percentile. I know people don't like it. They want to do something different. But ultimately, again, I'm not arguing about residential road. You could do whatever you want there. When you have pedestrian and bicycle, I mean, whether speed 30, 25, it's not an issue. But I'm talking about arterial, where you're gonna put a posted speed that's 10 or 15 miles less than what the 85th percentile show. I think you're gonna create more problem than you solve. I hope there's some magic solutions. I hope that, at least when we did the study, we have more kind of input from people who have to deal with this issue on a daily basis, whether it's gonna be the county or the PBSO or others. But I hope before you finalize the report to get some feedback or maybe schedule some meeting so we can exchange some points. The objective is great. The application may be a serious issue.
Thank you, Fadi. And just to clarify, the intent of this study with these target speeds is not to go out and change all the posted speeds. That's not the intent at all. It's to identify the appropriate speed that solves all users. And to do that, we're going to need those countermeasures to bring that operating in an 85th percentile speed down to the target speed. And so after, implementing the countermeasures, that's when you would go out and change the posted speed. It's not, the intent of the study is not to just go out and change the posted speed throughout all these corridors. It's to identify the appropriate speed, identify the countermeasures that are needed to achieve that, and then, lower that operating speed.
I'm okay with you on residential road or low posted speed road, but on an arterial, you're not gonna put, chicane or stuff or things. I mean, there's limited option you could do without spending tens of millions of dollars on a major road to lower the speed. So I hope that you take this into consideration and you have some kind of, exchange of point of view before you finalize the report.
Yeah, I agree. For arterials, there's no easy solution, and we're certainly considering that and taking that into account.
Anybody else? Body on the arterials, we struggle with that on Indiantown Road, and, some of our serious crashes occur on Indiantown Road due to high speeds. One of the things that I don't particularly like is the medians. My background's landscape architecture, so I appreciate the medians from a landscape architecture standpoint, but it's wasted space for landscaping in the middle of the road when that space could be used for the pedestrian, for bicycle, bike lane separators, to relocate the sidewalk, to put in street trees. I think that is when you go and look, and I know I want to see your pictures later, so we'll get to that. But one of the things that I think is really helpful is street trees on major arterials. And if we can relocate the sidewalks, separate the bike lanes and put in street trees and move that median out and put those street trees in, that visually then starts funneling the traffic. And if we can just focus really on that as a major, element of reducing speeds, is putting in those trees. And then the county allowing us to have, smaller separation requirements to those vertical elements that aren't frangible, we would get away with, and NFDOT, I don't know where Woodbed is, but, those are I think that, from a vertical standpoint and lowering the speed on major arterials can be really productive. And it has the added benefit of adding trees and having an environment that's conducive to walking and bicycling and gives dignity to the pedestrian. So I think that's one of the things we should be putting in your congestion, street trees, separating those users, and moving that landscape median to the outside as a buffer. Anyways, those are just my thoughts.
No, that's great feedback. Thank you for that. We're certainly considering, street trees as speed management and especially on the higher speed arterials and roadways, emphasizing that separation of modes.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Valentina. Your last presentation with us. Okay, are we on to the next items? So Fadi, I'd like to see those. I hear that Fadi went to France and he has some wonderful pictures to share with us on how to reduce speeds and create, and make sure you describe them so that Mr. Goodenough can get the.
I know what I really wanted is to create a library for everybody to use. Typically, if you want to get kind of high resolution pictures, it's very hard to get something that's not copyrighted. So I just want to have, I think I have like 200 pictures. I took different location, different places. So hopefully TPA can put them in a shared place where everybody could use them. Which one? I think there's a directory says slide. It's pictures, but it says slide. Maybe she can go there.
Yeah, Fadi, let us know which one you'd like to share. We have a
There's a
crosswalk.
directory, it says slide. I think it probably have like 20 or 30 in it. Yeah, I'll go quickly over maybe a couple of seconds over each picture.
We're not looking at 200 slides, are we?
That was my question.
Yeah, I think here, you have a couple of things. You have a raised kind of crosswalk, and you have a bike lane that's using stripes, but I also have, some kind of reflectors in between. You have it another picture cleared. If you want to go move to the next one. Yeah, and here, if you see the yellow line, it's where the bus stops. So they usually indicate a location for the bus to stops. And again, the same, you have a raised crosswalk and a bike lane with some reflector divider. Next one.
Oh, I liked how on that one where they have the raised crosswalk, they also put like a little tiny curb in front of it so that cars can't try to go around it. That was really, really nice.
The next one, this is, all of these are in Cannes, southern France, and this is also there. Here is a combination of stripe lane and physically separating the bike lane. And typically they do it, especially at curves or where there's some kind of, friction with maybe intersection or something, they try to separate it. The next one. Yeah, this is in Saint-Tropez, another area of southern France. Here they have a mixed, I think, bike and pedestrian. They don't separate them. It just they have to share the same area, and they have kind of higher separation than the rest. The next one. Here again, two-way bike lanes. Next one. Here it's, I think you can see the reflectors. Again, it's a cheaper way. It's just striped, but they have every maybe 30, 40 feet, they have a very, very long reflector create kind of some kind of physical separation. Next one. Yeah, this is in Paris, and I think you have almost all the major arterial in Paris, they have a bike, a separated bike, and most of them are two-way. Next one. You know, they have separate crosswalk for bikes and for pedestrian. I think that's pretty important. Next one. Here again, when you get to a location, sometimes they even have additional separation for bus lane and stuff, but they really try to separate pedestrian from bike when you cross a road. Next one. Again, a separated bike lane. It doesn't have to be wide. I think whenever they can squeeze one, they put one. Next one. Again, here they have like bike box. So when you get to an intersection, it's signalized. So your bike can park in front of the cars. And on the side, you can see the two-way bike lanes. Next one. Again, two-way bike lanes. Next one. The crosswalk, almost all of them, they try to provide some protection. So you have a raised kind of a median, but the crosswalk is leveled. And it's almost 90% of the crosswalk, they're like this. And a lot of them will have reflector also to make it much easier to see at night. And you can see the bike lane separated from the travel lanes. Next one. Yeah, this is Champs-Élysées. Again, you have bike lanes. And again, they're used by scooters, electric scooter, electric bike. They have some three-wheel bikes. It's really used on a daily basis by people who work there and live there. Next one. Here, it's a different way of separating. Again, it's still in Paris. You know, they provide some physical post, but the speed is very low here and the road is curved. Next one. This is a raised bike lane. And I know we're proposing something like similar in Boca. So I found it kind of interesting. Next one. Again, at the crosswalk, they separate the bike from travel lane. Next one. The same thing, again, separating the crossing of the bike lane when it's, you know, the more important the road is, the more physically visible the bike lane separation is. Next one. The same thing. If you see here what's interesting, you have the bus and you have this yellow kind of zigzag lane where the bus stops, and this is usually indication. Wherever they have this line is where the bus can stop. Now, almost most of the bus station will have a digital tell you how, you know, when the bus is coming, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And here they separate the bike lane behind the bus stop. Next one. The same thing, I think you can easily see the digital timing for each bus over, you know, you have several buses, but each one of them will tell you when the bus is arriving. And most of the buses there, they're electric. Most of them, I would say at least 90% of the one I've seen, they're all electric. Next one. Here it's a mixture of bus and bike. And on few roads, they have those. Next one. This is in Monaco. And again, they're still using the same, you know, the yellow one for the bus to indicate where the bus will stop. And they have a lot of pedestrian there. The next one. Yeah, this is also in Monaco. They have this kind of, I really like it. It's kind of convenient. It's small, it's cute, but it carries a lot of people for short distances. Next one. Again, you know, crosswalk, they always make them leveled. Next one. Same thing, again, you have multiple locations, but they try to separate all the crosswalk. And when you have a signal, they try to provide a place for bikers to park in front of the cars. Next one. Same thing. Next one. Yeah, this is in Monaco, you know, that again, land extremely expensive. They don't have a lot of kind of road, but what they do have a lot of pedestrian walkways. So this is, again, probably going to be very expensive, but it's all over the city. Next one. Again, in Monaco, they provide pedestrian, it's only for pedestrian. Next one. That's the same, even this is elevated one between buildings. They can squeeze them wherever they can. The next one. Yeah, this is in Saint-Tropez. It's the entire city. They don't have enough space for cars, so the entire city for pedestrians. Next one. And I think that's the last picture. No, I mean, this is for school. Yeah, they have combination of things, you know, to slow the traffic at schools. Oh, there's more. Okay, electric buses. There's still more. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's interesting. When they have a one-way traffic, they can have a bike lane in the opposite direction. I don't know why, but they have it in a lot of locations. Bikes are allowed to go in the opposite direction. Oh, yeah, noise wall, they have it, it's kind of transparent. Okay.
Is that
It's-
glass?
I thought that.
Is it glass?
Oh, yeah, this is in Geneva, you know, they have separate bike lanes and pedestrian. And yeah, this is, they can give you a ticket. Are you driving? You know, they can measure even the distance between cars. If you're too close to the car in front of you, you can get a ticket. This is a bike lane on a bridge throughout. I mean, they have long, very long bridges, but on the side, they maintain bike lane, Switzerland. Okay.
That's wonderful.
Again, I mean, I have probably more like 200 something pictures. So hopefully they'll be available, and they show different things. So if you want to highlight a particular item, then you know, you can pick whatever picture.
Well, Fadi, it'd be great if you could get Palm Beach County to adopt some of those standards.
You know, this is kind of more urban, but I mean, we're all for biking and we do whatever we can.
Well, the interesting thing is the separation between the bicyclists and the pedestrians, not a lot of shared use paths.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's Palm Beach County, and I think Brian is aware, you know, the one we put on Lions Road, we got tons of people opposing it. So hopefully we can change the mentality and try to figure out how to do these things. We're definitely for them, but we want to make sure we do them right.
Yeah, yeah. And just for the record, those there's street trees all throughout France, and they're from the family, the sycamore family, and they have tap roots. So they have roots that go straight down versus, you know, parallel to the ground, which makes it less likely to have conflicts with sidewalks. So we have sycamore trees here, which we could put on arterials and separate the traffic from the pedestrians.
Yeah, but even Fadi, one of the bike lanes that you were showing that was going the opposite direction, those are contraflow bike lanes. So typically those are used on one-way streets on more local roads.
Yes.
We do have some in the US. I know DC has some, and locally here in Florida, in Miami, they have some contraflow bike lanes, but
You know, and especially, I mean, in the big cities, a lot of people use bikes. And all the roads are almost designed for them, and drivers are aware of that. And I think we need to get step by step in the US closer to that, where drivers are aware there are bikers and more bikers using it. And then you can provide a lot of these facilities in a very safe environment.
Yeah, I think we're going there because of the e-bikes. The e-bikes are making it more accessible, easier to use. They're also very fast, but I think we're, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying initially. I mean, if you have a multi-level interceptor parking close to I-95, probably if I work in downtown, I'll probably bring my car and take my e-bike, come over here. So yeah, I mean, it increase the distance where you can literally walk or just commute without a vehicle.
Yeah, thank you for that, Body. That was very informational. So the next items are the administrative items 4A through 4C. They're informational only. There's no staff presentation. But are there any, these include the governing board summary points, FDOT scheduling report. And our next meeting is October, so we're skipping. Oh, we're skipping? Oh, okay, we're skipping. Wait, it's September, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. August went by so quickly. So October 3rd is our next meeting. If we have any other comments or,
Madam Chair.
yes, yes. Good job. Yay. And last but not least, we're going to miss you, Valentina. Great job. Thank you for being here and wish you well on your next endeavors, and come back and visit with us when you get cold. All right? Yes.
Thank you all. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, we'll see. And with that, the meeting's adjourned. We'll see you October 3rd.